You walk into your local grocery store, head to the meat counter, and see dozens of different brands, different labels, different packaging, different promises of quality. It looks like a thriving, competitive free market, but it's an illusion. Behind those dozens of labels are just four massive multinational corporations controlling roughly 85% of the American beef supply. Tyson, Cargill, National Beef, and GBS. They dictate the prices paid to the farmer, and they dictate the prices you pay at the register. But how did four companies capture the entire American food system? Did they simply outcompete the independent rancher? No. According to the veteran rancher and whistleblower Mike Callicrate, they had help from the inside. They had the United States Department of Agriculture. For decades, farmers have quietly whispered about the unfair advantages given to corporate monopolies, but Callicrate just said the quiet part out loud, exposing a system so thoroughly corrupted by a corporate interest that it actually works to bankrupt the very American families it was designed to protect. On the surface, the USDA is supposed to be the referee. They ensure the food safety, prevent monopolies, and protect the American consumer. But when you look at the actual track record, a chilling reality emerges. Regulatory capture isn't just a theory in the meat packaging industry. It is the standard operating procedure. Callicrate put it bluntly, we've never had leadership from the USDA that did not work for the big meat packers. Let me break that down. When a government agency becomes completely dominated by the industry it is tasked with the regulating, the rules no longer protect the public. The rules become a weapon used by the monopolies to crush their smaller competitors. And nowhere is the revolving door more glaring and more dangerous than the story of El Almanza and the Batista brothers. El Almanza was the head of the USDA Food Safety Inspection Service. He was a top cop for meat safety in the United States during his tenure. A massive scandal erupted out of Brazil. GBS, the largest meat processing company in the world, owned by the billionaire Batista brothers, was caught in a massive bribery and corruption scandal in their home country. Operation Carne Fraca, Weak Flesh, revealed that meat packers had been bribing health inspectors to certify rotten, tainted, and salmonella-laced meat for export. Countries around the world immediately slammed their doors shut, banning Brazilian meat imports to protect their citizens. But the United States, the USDA, under the leadership structure at the same time, kept borders open much longer than the other nations, allowing massive shipments of foreign meat to continue flowing into American food supply before finally buckling under pressure and implementing a suspension. And what happened next should terrify every American consumer. Shortly after stepping down from his role as the top food safety regulator for the United States government, El Almanza took a highly lucrative job. Who hired him? GBS. He became their global head of food safety and quality. So think about that. The man in charge of policing the world's largest meat monopoly left the government and immediately went on their payroll. Click rate doesn't mince words about the timeline. We've had leadership like Almanza let rotten meat in the United States and then went to work for the guys that provided it. The Batista brothers with GBS. This isn't just a conflict of interest, it is a hostile takeover of American food safety. When the regulators are auditing for seven-figure jobs with the monopolies they're supposed to be regulating, who is looking out for consumer? And more importantly, who's looking out for the independent American farmer? The answer is no one. Because while the corporate giants are writing the rules, those same rules are being weaponized against the small, independent processing plants. If you want to break the monopoly of the big four, you need local infrastructure. You need small, regional slaughterhouses and processing plants where independent ranchers can take their cattle without a local processor. A rancher has no choice but to sell their cattle to big four at a whatever artificially low price that cartel dictates. But building and running a small processing plant in America right now is almost impossible. And USDA's primary reason why I've been under inspection for a long time, Callicrate explained, the whole system was designed to hurt small plants. Here's exactly how the trap works. Following deadly E. coli outbreaks in the 1990s, outbreaks that largely originated in massive hyper-consolidated corporate packing plants, the USDA implemented strict new regulations called hazard analysis and critical control point. On paper, it sounds great, make the meat safer, but in practice, it became a regulatory nightmare designed to scale perfectly for $1 billion corporation and designed to drown a mom and pop butcher shop in paperwork. A massive GBS or Tyson plants processing 5,000 head of cattle a day has an army of lawyers, compliance officers, and dedicated USDA inspectors living on site. They have the capital to absorb the massive overhead cost to compliance. If a USDA inspector flags a minor issue at a massive corporate plant, the lines rarely stop, the meat keeps flowing. But a small independent processor handling 15 or 20 head of cattle a week, they are forced to comply with the exact same labyrinth of regulatory paperwork as the giant mega factories. They don't have a legal department. The owner is the butcher, the janitor, and the accountant, and for sure the compliance officer. The USDA inspectors sent to these small plants largely serve corporate interests by acting with absolute zero tolerance hostility toward the little guy. Small plant operators across the country report being harassed over minor, non-safety related infrastructure issues, a chip in the floor paint, condensation on a pipe, a missing signature of 400 pages of a compliance manual. For a corporate packer, these are minor ops for a small plant. The USDA inspector will pull the plug, shut down the line, and halt their business entirely. When you shut down a small processor for 2 days over a paperwork error, the meat spoils, the ranchers can't their animals processed, the cash flow stops, and the businesses bleeds out. When food is grown, processed, and consumed locally, the wealth stays in the community. The rancher gets a fair price, the consumer gets a safer and higher quality product, and the community creates steady, skilled jobs. But to do that, the government has to step in and actually do its job. Congress needs to pass the Prime Act, which would allow custom-exempt slaughterhouses to sell meat locally without the crushing burden of a federal USDA bureaucracy. The USDA needs to fundamentally reform its inspection process, creating a scale appropriate regulations that don't threat a 10 head a day local butcher like a 5,000 head a day corporate factory. And most importantly, we have to stop the revolving door. We have to ban government regulators from immediately taking jobs with the massive monopolies they are legally obligated to police. If you don't, the independent American rancher will become extinct. Corporate takeover of our land and our food will be absolute. So, Mike Callicrate left us with chilling forward warning about the current situation of American agriculture. The end is near. If these local plants fail, if that processor in Springfield, Missouri goes under, and if the USDA continues to act the enforcement arm of the big four meat packers, we won't just lose family farms, we will lose our national food sovereignty. Question is, will we listen before it's too late? If you found the video informative, I'd be really appreciated if you can just sub to my channel. Thank you so much.